down to business.
That's the nectar of the gods, baby.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 32nd episode, 32nd, yes, not 30 seconds, but 32nd episode of the #1 whiskey-driven, whiskey-lubricated, out of a list of one streaming show on the internet, right here at the Whiskey Musings broadcast. I am your charming and handsome host, Rick. So last week, well, before I get into that, first of all, I do want to thank all of the people who have subscribed to the channel within the last couple of weeks. I know last week I congratulated them and thanked them, and I'm doing it again this week because I picked up a couple more. I do appreciate it, believe me, because if you weren't here, I would be talking to no one. So I very appreciate everybody who has subscribed, and if you are new here and you haven't subscribed yet, please go to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and definitely hit the notifications little bell icon so that you can get notified when I go live or a new video is uploaded. And again, just to do a little more self-promotion, check out the Whiskey Musings store. I am running a promotion from now until December 25th. The alcohol's already getting to me. Between now and December 25th, I am running a promotion. If you enter the code Christmas at checkout, and that is Christmas, you can get free shipping on any of your orders. So that's my Christmas gift to you. And as a thank you for grabbing some of the Whiskey Musings logo gear. So last week, we talked a little bit about Christmas gifts, and, a lot of them were alcohol related, and I completely understand that, obviously, because this is my show, and of course I understand that. But that being said, I have another one to give you right here before we get into our topic for this evening. And basically what I want you to do, yes, you, that's right, you to do, is I want you to give the gift of great head. All right, you sick-minded people, I'm not talking about that. What I am talking about, though, is, as soon as I can find it, because it moved on me, what I am talking about is the physics. That's right, F-I-Z-Z-I-C-S. Physics. And no, I am not going to take credit for that marketing line. As you can see here, it is give the gift of great head. And what I'm talking about is for a beer drinker, beer lover, because the head of the beer is the foamy part that is on the top of the beer. It enhances the aroma and the flavor of the beer if you get it right. And trust me, as a former bartender in training, it is a little difficult sometimes to get that correct. And this is a gift that you can give to the home brew lover. And just basically, if you take a look at it right here, this is your personal draft beer dispenser. It has been scientifically put together and it shows that you can get great head on your beer at home. You don't necessarily have to go to a draft beer bar or whatever in order to get the proper head on the beer. So that way, basically, in that case, you can give the gift of great head to the beer lover in your life. Just as a disclaimer, no, I am not receiving any money from these folks. This is just something that I found on the internet. I thought it was great. It's an awesome tagline. By the way, they were also part of Shark Tank. Let me show you that. They've got that on the website here, right there. They were on Shark Tank, and they have 6 out of 6 sharks agree that, the better the head, the better the beer. So that, I thought I'd bring it to you guys because I kind of went a little more on the whiskey side of things, and I wanted to make sure that you folks had an option for the option for the people, the beer lover in your life. So, moving into our topic for this evening, after the show last week, Kirk and I, we kind of were talking, and we got to talking about cowboys, and of course, owning horses like I do, I have a bit of cowboy in me. But what's interesting about the cowboy is that there are certain values and certain things that the cowboy itself personifies. And I'm talking about like the American cowboy. I mean, when you think of America, a lot of people think of things like apple pie and baseball, and, the Old Glory might even come to mind if you do this. But the other iconic image is the Western and the cowboy, the American cowboy. And one of the things that we have seen throughout the ages is you've seen great actors such as John Wayne, Clint Eastwood. There's so many of them that got their start in the cowboy genre, and they personified what the cowboy actually was in the past. We've even gone so far as to have a cowboy in a Christmas movie. Now, what am I talking about? I am talking about Die Hard. I mean, think about it. Bruce Willis as John McClane. John McClane, in the very first movie, he was accused of being a cowboy. And, one of the things that Americans have always inspired and looked up to was the cowboy way, the cowboy values. A lot of these characters and a lot of these depictions of these characters have always had certain qualities and values. And it's those values that I think that we need to bring back to America today. Now, if you look in the description of the video, I actually refer to a gentleman who also believes that same exact thing. He is a photographer and an author. I believe he's a photographer. I don't think these are all his works, but in this book, it's called Cowboy Values. Let me get it right. And it's recapturing what America once stood for. And this gentleman, his name's James P. Owens. This is a fantastic book. It's got a lot of fantastic photography. But the thing about it is this is his second book. This isn't his first one. The first one that he wrote was Cowboy Ethics, What Wall Street Can Learn from the Code of the West. And this particular book kind of goes into the Code of the West and what he's seen and what he's found. And we're going to go over a little bit of that tonight. A lot of it due to the fact that these embody what the cowboy actually is. And when I said what happened to the cowboy, when I kind of announced the topic for tonight, I wanted to make sure that you understood that this is not a conversation necessarily about, the loss of the cowboy itself, although they do still exist. I'm certainly not going to deny that while I'm looking for my cursor to get set up for another scene here. I'm certainly not going to deny that. But the cowboy itself personifies certain American values, and James Owens actually kind of brings that to the forefront in his writing, and makes it so that we take a look at it. If you want to get the book, there's a couple of different places you can get it, but here on Amazon they do have it available. And like I said, it is a brilliant book. It's great written, but the pictures are absolutely phenomenal. So if you have any interest in this, even just to have it as like a coffee table kind of thing, if you're into cowboys, go ahead, get it. It is great. This particular version, this is a signed edition from him. As you can see, it was 2014. And no, I am not getting any compensation from this man. I am not getting any compensation if you buy this book. I just think it is a great book for you to read and check out and look at in terms of the cowboy values that we have in terms of today. And so we're going to talk about this. I'm not going to go through every single thing in the book, so you got to get the book in order to get all of the detail, but we are going to cover a few things within it. And so let me go ahead and get back here. All right. So that's the cowboy values. It follows on with Cowboy Ethics. Cowboy Ethics, the what Wall Street Can Learn. And then he's also got the other Cowboy Ethics book that he just wrote as well. So let's first start with, in the Cowboy Ethics book, the first one, he brings out what he believes is the code of the West. And you know, the thing about it is that everybody needs a code. Everybody needs a creed or a mantra to live by, whether that comes from your religious background or comes from any place in that. There's a creed, a code that people should live by. And here's his suggestion in terms of, and by the way, he founded a nonprofit center where I'm getting some of this stuff at. That is also in the link in the description below. And you can go there and you can actually buy a bunch of different products that have a lot of this in images and everything else. Great place to go. But it's called the Center for Cowboy Ethics and Leadership. And in this particular case, let me bring that up. So in this particular case, what he's talking about is the Code of the West. Now, the Code of the West is on the right side of your screen there. I'm going to go ahead and quickly highlight that just really quick. It's right over here on the side. And basically what he did is he broke it down into 10 different parts that basically make up the code of the West. The first one being live each day with courage. The second one is take pride in your work. Third is always finish what you start. Fourth, do what has to be done. Fifth, be tough but fair. 6, when you make a promise, keep it. 7, ride for the brand. 8, talk less and say more. 9, remember that some things are not for sale. And 10, know where to draw the line. And I'm going to tell you, as far as like my own life, there's a kinship, a spirit within myself that shows up in looking at this code of the West. And he describes this really, really well in the Cowboy Ethics, and he definitely applies it to the business world in terms of Wall Street. But in this book, in the second book, this one that we're going to talk about tonight, he actually takes that code and breaks it down and puts it into 7 key values that sort of make up the code of the West. And so let me go ahead and pop this open, get the key values. So these are 7 core values. This is his words, 7 core values that we can all share. And realistically, these values are very, very important to society and to living a good life throughout, you know, our lives today. These are 7 core values that we really should embrace, and all of these values come from the evaluation that he did with the American Cowboy. So the first one, and these are not in any order, by the way, but the first one is courage. The second one is optimism. The third one is self-reliance. Fourth is authenticity. Fifth is honor. Sixth is duty. And the 7th is heart. Now think about that. Courage, optimism, self-reliance, authenticity, honor, duty, and heart. These are 7 core values that make up what was a part of the American West and what we have looked at and aspired to when you watch these Westerns and everything. The characters, although in some cases, some of the characters have some of their negative sides to them, but that's just the nature of the human being. However, more often than not, what you find is that the character actually embodies all 7 of these in some aspect, in some way, shape, or form. And this is something that I believe we can aspire to. We can reach for. A lot of these things are missing in today's society, and especially in dealing with our young people. We need to help inspire these folks to go for these values, to focus on these values. And, you know, a lot of people would think that has to deal with religion, but to be honest with you, it really isn't. It is more of just a thought process in terms of a goodness and the right way to live your American life. And these people, the American Cowboy, has, at least in James Owens's view, and in my view too, has embodied these 7 values. Now, what are we talking about here? So let me just open this up. So we've already talked about the code of the West. So let me tell you a little bit about how James figures out, or how James points out, what these values mean. Okay, so excuse me, I got to get my old man glasses. Hold on. All right, so courage. Now, let's just take courage for an example. So courage grows from these things: acknowledging fear and confronting it head on. Now, notice that he's not talking about believing in the absence of fear. He's saying that you acknowledge the fear, because fear is going to exist no matter what. But confronting that fear head on is what courage is. Accepting risk, change, and failure as a part of life. Okay? Without failure, you cannot have success. Now, I'm not going to take credit for that. Somebody said that, somebody famous. But people need to understand today that failure is not the ending. It is just the beginning. Albert Einstein was making all these light bulbs, and somebody asked him, how it took you 200 and some odd times to make a light bulb. Don't you feel like you're a failure? And he looked at him and basically said, and I'm paraphrasing here, no, I didn't fail. I found 200 some odd ways not to make a light bulb. And that's the attitude that we need to have. That's the attitude that we need to take when it comes to failure. Don't be afraid of failure. Failure is learning. Failure is a learning opportunity for everyone. And that's what we need to embody. And that's one thing that the cowboy has actually shown in many cases. Persevering despite the odds. What does that mean? That means moving forward despite what's up against you. Having the courage, because again, this is talking about courage, having the courage to keep moving forward, even when the odds look like they're against you. Okay? Standing up for what we believe is part of courage. Enduring hardship and adversity without complaint. Okay? You know what? Hardship is going to happen. It's going to happen. You're going to have bad times and good times, but sitting there and complaining about them doesn't necessarily do you any good. I mean, other than maybe it might make you feel better, but it doesn't resolve your situation. It certainly doesn't make anything better as far as like where you're at. Being willing to make tough choices. This is something that is very important, especially in today's day and age. We may not always have the best path forward, but being able to make a tough choice and being able to basically say, you know what, we've got to get this done, even though it's going to hurt us, we still need to get it taken care of. And that's something that we need to do. We need to encourage our youngsters to go down this path. So we're still talking about courage here, living the life we want. Now think about that for a second. Living the life that we want, not what the government wants for you, not what your, believe it or not, not what your parents want for you. It's the life that you want, the life that you're after. And you have to have the courage to be able to move forward toward that end. I know, and there are stories out there of so many different people who've been told over and over and over again, oh, sorry. Okay, I said Einstein, not, okay. Edison made the light bulb. Sorry, I saw it in the chat. Thanks, Kirk. Wish you were on here live. Maybe you could have corrected me a long time before I got into this. But anyway. All right. So Edison made the light bulb, not Einstein. Yeah. Okay. Living the life that we want. We want to live the life that we want to do. And that's having the courage to do that. Having the courage to go after the dreams that we want. Okay. So that's what James is talking about here in terms of courage. So let's move on to the next one of 7, which is optimism. So optimism, what does optimism do? Optimism grows from faith in the righteousness of the natural order of things. Let me say that again because I kind of paused. Faith in the righteousness of the natural order of things. Okay, so we optimism is, hey, you know what? Things are going to go the way they're going to go. And you've got to be optimistic that they're going to come out right on the other end. Okay, confidence in our own abilities. Confidence in what you can do. Don't be afraid. Acceptance of the blending of good and bad in the world and in ourselves. Now, this one's kind of important because not everybody is always good and not everybody is always bad. There's a blending. We're not a straight good or bad. We're not a straight, always good, always bad. There is a blending. Now, you may end up where you're mostly good all the time and only occasionally bad, or you might end up to where you're mostly bad and occasionally good. But it's a blending. It's not, everybody is not necessarily a black and white, a 1 or a 0. And we need to understand that. We have to have optimism toward that. Consciously choosing to focus on the good in our lives. So this is something, and I'll be honest with you, optimism, I find it hard for me to be optimistic in some cases. I describe myself as being a realist. And, to be honest, I do tend to find that realism sometimes takes me on the downward path, takes me on the negative path. So I'm more of pessimistic than optimistic, but we need to try and be more optimistic about our lives, optimistic about the situation that we're in, optimistic about ourselves and how we can improve and move forward with that. Gratitude for the blessings that have come our way. Now, I don't know about you, but Thanksgiving last week, it gave me an opportunity to thank people for being a part of my life. There is a lot of people that you do not, that realistically, even today, I don't think they know the kind of effect or the kind of sentiment that I actually have toward those people, because they are a big part of my life. They are a part of not only who I am today, but who I was. Good or bad, doesn't make any difference. They are all a part of where you come from and how you came to be where you are in the present. Now, the difference is moving toward the future, you have a wide open slate. Everything is a clean slate. I think I heard somebody once say that the book of your life is being written today for tomorrow. The ending is not done yet. And you can make that change. You can be whoever it is that you want to be. You can be the next person that you want to be. You can be, whatever you choose. But remember that it's your choices that are making that are writing that story. And that's, you need to have optimism that you're going to move on and move forward and be good for that life. Now, let me go to the next one here. I got to find my marker. Self-reliance. Now, this one's tough for some people because some people talk about self-reliance and they keep thinking to themselves, okay, I got to be self-reliant. I got to be a self-starter. I've got to be, whatever it is. And there's others who are like, if nobody tells me what to do, I'm not doing anything. Well, self-reliance is actually beyond just not doing anything if nobody tells you what to do. Self-reliance means that you rely on yourself. So listen to some of the things that James pops out here. So self-reliance, taking responsibility for our own well-being. So taking responsibility for who I am, how I feel. That is amazing to me, just to even bring that out, because of the fact that, you know what? Somebody can insult you. And how you feel, if you feel bad about that insult, that is because you gave that person, you gave that individual the power to make you feel that way. You can choose to not feel that way. You can choose what that person makes you feel. And to be honest with you, if they are going to insult you in that fashion, then their opinion should not count to you. Because you don't want people around you who don't believe in you. You don't want people around you who are not going to give you the boost, the lift, the push that you need. You need to stand and understand that those individuals who are trying to bring you down are doing it for their own selfish reasons. And you don't need to be a part of that. You need to move on. You need to embrace your own life and understand that that person realistically, in the grand scheme of things, does not matter. Because the minute you give them that power, they have that power over you. But they didn't take it from you. You gave it to them. You gave it to them. They didn't take it. You gave it. Okay. So confidence in our ability to learn. Oh my gosh. You not being able to learn and continue learning throughout your life is like a key skill that that is, you're never going to be just stagnant. Never. You can't. There's always something new to learn. There's always something out there to learn. And so from my perspective, you should never, ever, ever stop learning. Doesn't matter if it's something fun, exciting, new, whatever. Never stop learning. I mean, hell, I had to learn all of this in order to bring this program to you. I didn't know anything about video. I didn't know anything about green screens, lighting, audio, making things sound great. I didn't know anything about that, but I learned. And that's what you need to do. You need to step out of yourself and you need to continue learning. Okay, making do with what we have. This is another one that I try and stress to my kids, is that just because you don't have the best, the brightest, the newest, it doesn't mean you can't function. You cannot do the things you need to do just because you don't have all of the best things. You got to make do with what you have. Make it work, because that's what you have in front of you. If you sit there and wish for the next thing or whatever, you're going to just spend all your time looking for the next greatest thing, and you're never going to appreciate and understand what it is that you have in front of you. Okay? So doing our best and learning from mistakes. Learning from mistakes. You know what? You're not going to be good at everything. Shoot, I'm not good at, I'm not good at some of the things that I've done and moved forward with. But you know what? I always put forth my best effort. And if it failed, great. I learned from the mistake. I learned not to do whatever it was that caused me to fail. And that ties back to the first thing, in courage. Don't be afraid to fail. But have the self-reliance to understand that doing your best and learning from your mistakes is the only way that you're going to eventually get into success. And this is something that is very key. Valuing competence over convenience. That's kind of interesting. Valuating somebody's capabilities rather than just because they happen to be there. Okay. May not be quite what he meant, but valuing competence over convenience. Putting the time and effort it takes to master a skill. Think of it. Master a skill. Putting in the time and the effort. Everything takes hard work. Everything does. And for those of you out there who think that you're just going to get whatever you're going to get, I mean, that isn't it. You can't walk out. I'm sorry, college educated kids, you can't walk out of college with a, 4-year degree and expect to be making 6 or 8 or whatever figures. You've got to put in the time to learn how to master whatever it is that you're after. You can't just sit here and walk out and get that money. You have to take the time. You have to gain the experience, the education, the knowledge, the understanding of what it is that you're doing in order to master that skill, whatever it happens to be. And it's going to take time. And there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be failures along the way. That's what you should be understanding and learning. Finding satisfaction in every accomplishment. You know what? I am so proud of my daughter, and I'm going to tell you why. Because she has gone into dancing competitions, and she is good. Okay, I'm not going to deny that. She is very good. But she's also learning. Now, the thing about it is she has come out before from competitions, and she has won high awards, but not necessarily the top awards. But you know what I'm proud of? I'm proud of the fact that when I ask her, hey, I know you're kind of disappointed. I mean, you didn't get, first place. You didn't get whatever, whatever the top award is. She's always looked at me and said, you know what, Dad? I don't mind, because of the fact that I have learned, I've gained the experience, and not only that, but next time I'll do better. Because she knows that she's got to put in the work and the effort, and she's putting in a bunch of work and effort. But she's not at the upper echelon's top level as of yet. But I guarantee you she will be. Because she has decided to put in all of the effort, and she has the faith in knowing that she's going to get there. And you know what else? She also knows that she's got a great support system behind her. Like her family, her mother, her father, her brother. That's the support system that she needs. And whether she knows it or not, we're all here pulling for her. But that's part of the wonder and the thrill of being able to go in and make your accomplishments and be proud of what you've achieved. don't just pass it off as, oh, I only made second place. You should be, I made second place. Holy crap. I mean, because when you walk into something like that, have the expectation to do your best and learn from your mistakes, knowing that unfortunately not everybody's perfect. You're not going to be perfect. So you're going to have to learn from those mistakes, but you should be proud of the accomplishments that you make along the way. Awesome, awesome, awesome life value. Seriously. Okay, so let's move on. Authenticity. Now this is kind of one of those things that I think a lot of people don't necessarily really understand the value of authenticity here. Because there are so many people out there, and even I will tell people, I mean, I have a rough time necessarily talking with certain people because I know that they are not being authentic. They're telling me one thing in one ear and they're telling other people other things in elsewhere. Sorry, I bumped the mic there. But, you know, I can't believe everything that they say. So being authentic, whether it's good or whether it's bad, this is a value that we should be promoting. We should be looking at it and saying, you know what? I know what you just said is true. So let's take a look at how James breaks out authenticity. So authenticity grows from understanding one's self as a whole person. Satisfaction in being who we are. Again, that kind of goes back to the whole idea of who you are shouldn't be dictated by other people. It should be dictated by who you are. Okay? Actions guided by a coherent set of core beliefs. These 7 things are core beliefs. So to have authenticity is to have actions that are guided by those core beliefs that you have. Now, one thing that's funny, let me go a little bit farther here, and I'll talk to you this about in a minute. Recognizing our own strengths and weaknesses, because you can't have all strengths. You have to understand that there are weaknesses there, that not everybody can be strong at everything. So we've got to recognize our own strengths and our own weaknesses. And in our weaknesses, we need to be able to reach out and ask for help if need be, saying what we mean. Okay. Saying what we mean. So that's a core value or an authentic value that we need to take a look at and be real. You know, don't just give somebody lip service, be real about it. And I guarantee you that if you are real with people, they will tend to trust you more. They will tend to look at you as a valued and trusted advisor, because if you can't be authentic, if they don't feel like you can be authentic, then they are not necessarily going to listen to you. A good example of this is, like, everybody jokes about the stereotype of the used car salesman. I mean, the guy, you know, the used car guy who's there, he's only there to sell a car. And when you walk in with the idea that he's there to sell a car, you know that he's going to tell you whatever you want to hear in order to get you in that car, because that's his job, his or her job. But at the same time, I mean, I've got a best friend who in normal life is a salesperson. And I told him one time, and I was totally honest with him. I was like, you know, he was giving me all kinds of compliments. He was talking about me and where I was at in my career at the time, and some of the things that I had accomplished. And he looked at me and he basically told me, he's like, you know, he told me all these wonderful things. He gave me all this positive praise. And I looked at him and I said, I hate to tell you this, you know, but I don't believe you. And he looked at me and he's like, why? And I said, because you're a sales guy. I feel like you're blowing smoke up my rear end. Okay. And I knew he was being authentic and real, but the problem was that his job was to be a salesperson, was to get somebody to buy whatever it was that he was selling. And so unfortunately, even though now, granted, we know each other now outside of work, and so I'm not in that same boat. But when he's sitting in and putting on his sales hat, I still can't get that feeling of being taken out of my mind. So, you know, being authentic is real. It is focused. It is something that we all should be. We should be authentic. You know, little white lies are going to hurt. But you know what? If you tell somebody something and they're honest about it, and they're authentic about it, you know what you're going to get when you ask them that question, or when you ask them a question that is very similar to that. So you know what the expectation is. You know what you're looking for. You know what the person is, to be authentic. Okay? All right. So let's move on. So here we go. Our next value. This is a very, very, very important value. At least it is for me, because this sort of embodies some of the other values that are a part of it. And this is honor. So what does honor mean? Honor means being worthy of trust. Think about that. Being worthy of trust. Not the word trustworthy, but being worthy of the trust that people bring to you. Okay? To have that honor in your life, to be the person that you have, to be honorable. Okay? Someone who can be counted on. This is a value of honor. Everybody knows if you have honor, you can be counted on. You can be asked to do something, and, they'll know, you'll know. Again, it kind of goes back to the authenticity. So a lot of these 7, they're kind of like intertwined and wrapped around each other. Telling the truth. Weren't we just talking about being authentic just a minute ago? Telling the truth. Okay. Being honorable means telling the truth. So somebody knows that if you say something and you're being completely honest with them, that's part of honor, honesty. You tell the truth. You tell it all the time, and you never have to worry about lying. You never have to worry about tracking all of those lies. Okay. Keeping your word. So when you make a promise, hey, wow, we go back, make a promise. When you make a promise, keep it. That's number 6 on the Code of the West. Well, guess what? It's right here. Keeping your word as part of the honor section value. Okay. Then you have acting with integrity no matter the cost. How often have we seen our cowboy personifications depicted in movies or in stories that you may have read, where even though it was going to cost them their life, their family, the love of their life, their farm, their ranch, whatever, they did what was right anyway, no matter what the cost, because of the fact that it was right. That's what having honor is about. Okay? Knowing that just because it's legal doesn't mean it's right. Oh my gosh. So just because something's legal doesn't necessarily mean that it's right. And when you have honor and you know that you do the right thing and you do the right thing always, that's what having honor is. Okay? And that's what being honorable is all about. I mean, it's just, anyway. Okay. So this one is another one that kind of ties in with honor. This one's called duty. Now, I tell my kids all the time, this first bullet point is here, and I tell my kids all the time, it's actions speak louder than words. And yes, I have to thank my stepfather for that one. Okay. He burned that into my brain from when I was a young one, was actions speak louder than words. And I got to tell you, that phrase is exactly right. Because if you ever encounter someone who lies, who cheats, who steals, who does anything nefarious, their actions are going to tell you a lot more than their words are going to. And so in this particular case, duty is actions, not words. Don't tell me you're going to do your duty. Do your duty. Don't tell me you're going to do something. Do it. Just do it. You don't need to say it. Okay. Responsibility to something larger than one's self. This kind of falls into that number 7 on the Code of the West, riding for the brand. When you go and do a job, do the job. That's your duty. Do the job. Do what that job or that employer asks of you. Unless, of course, it becomes something that is illegal or something that you personally, can't stomach, then you have an out. You can be the honorable person and not do what they're asking you to do, if what they're asking you to do violates some sort of code of ethics or whatever. But as long as that part doesn't work, then ride for the brand. Okay. A willingness to sacrifice self-interest. And that's a duty. I mean, for you to be a dutiful person, sometimes you got to do what is not within your own self-interest, but is within within the self or within the interest of others. Okay. Doing what has to be done. So doing what has to be done. Sometimes it's going to get messy. Sometimes it's going to be nasty. But you know what? If you're dutiful and you're duty bound, you got to do it. You just do it. Whether you like it or not, do it. Do what has to be done. Okay? Respecting core values as absolutes. Oh, this is interesting. So part of doing your duty is having a core value, having a code, and understanding that it is an absolute. There is no choice. You cannot break that absolute. Because, of course, as anyone knows, once you break a rule, then the rule is no longer a rule. Once you break something, the rule is no longer there. You need to have a core set of beliefs, a core set of values that are immutable, unbreakable, unchangeable. Answering the call when it comes. Okay? Answering the call, doing your duty, meaning that sometimes you're going to have to give up your pleasure cruise, or you're going to have to give up maybe a little bit of vacation time or something like that in order to do what must be done. Okay? So that's duty. And now we're down to the last core value. Okay? The last one. This is heart. A lot of people think heart, oh, that's that thing that's beating in my chest. No, heart actually means having a heart, seeing the good in people. That's one of the things that he classifies. Seeing the beauty in life. Even in some of the ugliness that's around us, there is a beauty. Now, you may not understand it, but it's there. It's there. Okay? Finding rewards in giving. Finding rewards in giving. So understand that you giving up something for somebody else, that's finding a reward. My wife is absolutely awesome at this. Her happiness actually most of the time comes from everyone else around her that she cares about being happy. She finds rewards in giving. That's her happiness, is being able to give to others. I have a little bit more difficult time with that, but still, that's her happiness, and I'm happy for her for that. Recognizing your shared humanity. Okay. So we are all part of the same planet Earth, and we need to recognize the fact that we are all part of the same Earth. We are all here. Like the Declaration of Independence said, all men are created equal. Everybody's created equal. We need to recognize that. We need to understand that. And as a cowboy, we don't get involved necessarily with, this whole thing about ethnicity, backgrounds, whatever. Okay. We recognize that there is a humanity there. And so because of that, because we recognize that as a cowboy, as an American cowboy following these value system, we recognize that other person is a person, and they need to be respected and honored for being a person. Recognizing the humanity. Okay. Feeling at one with nature. That's what having a heart is, according to James. Feeling at one with nature. I mean, we're all here on the same rock. It's not like we can just automatically transport ourselves somewhere else right now. So we need to feel at one with nature. And whether that means doing right by, cutting down your CO2 emissions or whatever. I mean, whatever happens to be your thing. But just understand, we should feel at one with nature. We should treat other animals with respect. We should treat the animals that we have, the plants that we have, treat them with respect. Don't try to necessarily trot on them or anything else. We should treat this world with respect, not only just the humans, but also all of the other animals and creatures that are involved. Okay. And that's kindness to other living creatures. That's the last one, including, we cannot forget ourselves, including ourselves. So those are the core values. The core values of being a cowboy, according to what James P. Owens has said. And you know what? I kind of agree with him. Courage, optimism, self-reliance, authenticity, honor, duty, and heart. Now, one thing that I think that has happened today is a lot of people in America have lost a lot of these values. And it has nothing to do with being religious or being righteous or any of this other stuff. But these are core values that were built and put in to our very foundation. And if you think about the core values of the people that came across and formulated this nation, they had core values there. Now, granted, I'm going to tell you, I'll be the first to admit, not everything that they did was absolutely wonderful and peacekeeping and everything else. There was a lot of things that went bad because that they did that was bad. But you know what? We've corrected it over time. We've worked on it. We're trying to. These core values are something that we should be aspiring to. That doesn't mean you're always going to make it, because like we just talked about, success only happens if failure occurs. And there are times that this country and the people involved have failed, but we've also been able to learn from those mistakes and we've been able to move forward. This is what we need for today. This is what we need for our world today and for our country to continue. And I think the American cowboy symbolizes and, embodies, that's the word I was looking for, embodies what the American spirit should be about. Now, I'm going to go ahead and open up the phone lines. We got plenty of time here. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the phone lines. If you have any thoughts on that, feel free to call in. But I'm going to tell you right now, where have all the cowboys gone? And yes, that is a very cheesy 80s or 90s song. Absolutely. But it makes me wonder. It really does make me wonder. Where have all the cowboys in terms of the values and the code of the West, living with courage and honor and duty? Where have these people gone? Where are these individuals? I think they're still out there. I think a lot of them are feeling like they don't have a voice. But I'm here to tell you, there are more of them that are out there than what you believe. There are more of them that are out there than what a lot of people might think. Because right now, all of the things that are going on, everything that you see is all about things that are not part of the value system. And so this is something that, we need to bring this back. We need to bring this back. We need to embody this within our children and our children's children. And I can guarantee you this much, that if I end up with grandchildren, I am definitely going to work on this. I actually have a list, and it was kind of inspired by a television show. I think most people would know what it is because it's very popular. NCIS. If you have ever seen NCIS, there is a character there. His name is Leroy Jethro Gibbs, and he has a code that he lives by, and it's a list of rules. Now, the sad part about it is that unfortunately his character sometimes breaks the rules because, as we've just heard, having values that are immutable are really important to running and to being a embodiment of the cowboy. But the fact of the matter is that he has a list of rules, and that inspired me to create my own list of rules. And I actually do have a bunch of rules. A lot of them are, at least the first probably 10 or so, are literally from the Code of the West. And it's a spirit that I think we all need to embody within ourselves to become not only better people, okay, but not only better people, but to become better human beings and better at our own relationships and how we interact with our fellow man. This is what the American spirit is all about, the American cowboy, and we've kind of gotten away from it. We need to get back to it. We need to get back to it because that's where honor, duty, a lot of the military actually embodies some of this with code and, that kind of stuff. So the military takes a lot of this in because and our treatment of other people, not just men, but women as well. I mean, I don't know how many times that I've actually walked through the store. I've held the door open for anyone who is behind me because realistically, that's being courteous. That's being appreciative of my fellow man. I am getting out of the way so that they can come through the door. They don't have to push on it anymore. And I don't know how many times I've stood there, and there are people that do recognize it. And that's what gives me hope, is that those people actually recognize it. But honestly, so many people don't. And you know what, ladies? I'm sorry, but a man holding a door open for you is not necessarily, in some cases it might be, but is not necessarily a form of chauvinism and something that you need to be angry about. It is a show of respect and honor for a part of our human species that has the ability that men don't. In case you don't realize this, biologically speaking, you are the nurturers. You are the ones that care for the young, that bring the young into the world. So from a biological standpoint, you do what we can't. And we should be able to show you and give you that same respect by showing you that we appreciate what you do for us, not just as an individual, but as a part of a bigger picture, part of humanity, holding open the door for you, helping you on with your coat, holding out a chair. When you're walking down the road, and you should put the man on the outside where the cars are. I mean, these are society values, but you know what? They've been used as a weapon against men in particular. But realistically, all these men who do this, I'm going to be completely honest with you, all the men who do this, they do this for a reason, and that is because they want to demonstrate to you as a woman, not that you're necessarily weaker, not that you're inferior, but that they respect you for what you bring to humanity's table. That is an honor, that is duty, that is value, that is respect. Any man that does that for a woman, he values that woman. Whoever it is, mother, grandmother, girlfriend, sister, doesn't make a difference. He values that woman. That's a core belief. You can see that. And you can look at it. I mean, think about it. In all of the movies, every depiction of the cowboy, one of the things that was very, very common is the fact that the cowboy would always tip their hat to the ladies. That was a sign of respect. It was a sign to show that, hey, you know what? We respect you. We value you. That is what is missing as a part of this whole thing in terms of society. And the American Cowboy, they embodied that. They also embodied free spirit. They also embodied the whole idea, the concept of America, which is to do whatever you need to do to increase your own life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Okay. But they did it in an honorable way. They did it in a value-sensed way. Honor, ethics, integrity, duty. These are all things that make this up. And James Owens pulls this out. He shows this not only in pictures, but in his words. And I really think we're missing some of this, not only in everyday life, not only in our own interactions with other people, but also in things like business. And, you know, the culture around business being very cutthroat, which is why he started the whole thing, Cowboy Ethics, and what we can learn from the American Cowboy and apply in the business world. What's missing here is the American Cowboy values, the values that we have in order to carry on with our humanity and our livelihoods. And that's the message that I want to bring to all of you. That's the message that I think we all need to value and understand. Okay. So Kirk, my co-host from last week, he pops up. He goes, I may not have a cowboy hat, but I feel I have checked all those boxes. And you know what, Kirk, I'm going to tell you, you and anyone else, you don't have to wear the cowboy garb. You don't have to wear that gear. But if you follow The value system, if you have a value system and you do things like honor and courage and duty and all of those other things and being authentic with yourself, you know what? I have a lot of respect for you because you can put on that unicorn outfit and you're proud of it. And you know what? Go for it. Be proud. That's who you are. You like that stuff. I salute you, sir, for that. I salute anybody who is proud of who they are. That's what you should do. That's part of the value system. That's part of what we're talking about being a cowboy. You should be there. You should do what you need to do. But remember that know where to draw the line. And you also have to remember that some things aren't for sale. Yes, Addie, I know you would like him to wear the cowboy hat and boots and jeans with the huge belt buckle. You know what they used to call belt buckles? The ladies used to call belt buckles in Texas. This is a poor joke, but I'm going to do it anyway. All right. You know what they called them? They called them a tombstone for dead dicks. Anyway. All right. So I spent some time in Texas, which actually James Owens is from Austin, but I spent some time in Texas and that was one of the things that was really funny. The bigger the buckle, the deader anyway. Okay, moving on. So it looks like I don't have any callers coming in tonight. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. I know I took a long time to kind of go through all of this, but I really hope that if nothing else, do yourself a favor. If you have an opportunity, okay, to go and maybe get this book or get the other book, look into it, read. There's a lot more words in here than just what I covered tonight. He goes through and he explains his thoughts on all of this. There's also the companion, the Cowboy Ethics. And again, I'm not getting paid for this. I just think these are great. These are great books. There's the Cowboy Ethics, and this is where the Code of the West comes in, and he kind of explains all of that. This is awesome. And then my other favorite, this was written by a guy named David W. Stevenson, and this is Cowboy Wisdom. And the subtitle says, What the World Can Learn from the Wit and Wisdom of the West. Okay. This is funny. There are some funny stuff in here. Okay. So, and again, just to give you an idea, here's some of the photos. I mean, this is a fantastic photography book, pictures of cowboys. If you have any interest in cowboys at all, I highly recommend this book. Not because I'm being paid for it, because I'm not, and no, they're not a sponsor and I'm not going to ask for them to be. But there's a lot of awesome pictures in here. Okay. So anyway, that's my message for tonight. We need to bring back some of the cowboy values back into America today, because a lot of these values are values that embody the American spirit. And this is what we're missing from today's society. I think if a lot of people acted with those values in mind, especially the honor and the duty, the authenticity, and heart itself, we wouldn't be in some of the situations that we're in. So even if you can just do it for yourself and kind of show it to others and explain it to others, we can make this world a better place. And that's ultimately where we need to be, is to make this world a better place. All right. So before I go, I just want to tell you there is got to get this up. Whoop. Got to get my old man glasses. All right, so this just in from the variety section. A wife, being romantic sort, sent her husband a text, and it said, quote, "If you are sleeping, send me your dreams. If you are laughing, send me your smile. If you are eating, send me a bite. And if you are drinking, send me a sip." The response she got back from her husband, who is typically a non-romantic, was, "I am on the toilet. Please advise." And that's my final Whiskey Musings thought for the evening. Thank you very much for joining. If you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the little bell to get the notifications of when I go live or when a new topic is up. And remember, for Christmas, you got a bunch of things. You got to go back and watch the episode, last episode, for some great gift ideas. Tonight's great gift idea was also Physix, Fizzics.com, Physix.com, for the beer lover. Cause remember about the, making sure you get the great head for the beer. That makes it taste better. And so anyway, if you haven't subscribed yet, click subscribe. Also, don't forget to check out the Whiskey Musings logo store, get yourself some presents, and hey, help out the show at the same time, because it pays for certain things like the call-in option here, which we didn't use tonight, but that's okay. That's fine. Anyway, I hope everybody has a wonderful evening, and we will see you next time on the Whiskey Musings broadcast. Good night.